Ooh, and some tea. All right, that's better. Yeah, okay. So is that...
My microphone was muted. There we go.
Dude, this music, we're getting down and funky, baby.
That's right.
That's why I've got my pimp jacket on, baby.
I like how you spiced it up some. You look like you rolled off the couch here.
Just a second. Here we go. I realized, wait, I was hearing myself in the background. Yeah. Okay, now I've seen the screen. Wait, I'm bringing up bringing up the chat. Yeah, baby, I got this big furry jacket. I want something just to get me through. So that we're doing, dude, we're rocking the 90s again. I'm Kurt Cobain, and you're like got those purple 90s vibes going on. Hey, Yura's there. Hey, Yura, my buddy in St. Petersburg, buddy. Hope you're holding up there, my friend.
That's right. Good to see you. Yeah, finally here.
All right.
My goodness, I feel like sometimes you over-prepare and nothing really works. Every time it's something.
Every time. You have the worst luck with cameras. So you've got that new Razer camera, and it's not doing good.
Well, actually, if I go back to like the scene where you saw, I just had this shot where it says show starts soon, please drop a like for the first minute. That actually is that camera. So I plugged it in and it decided to work today. So it's just over there for like a break. If we need a break, it go to that camera. Sure. If you need to get started like we did a little bit late, then you kind of pull that up and let the crowd get ready. So
absolutely. There's so many people already, like 17, 20 people there, which is tremendous. How many people have jobs?
Yeah. They must be like me. Yeah, pretend to work all day.
Steve doesn't.
No, I know. See? So let's just get something right off the chest here before we get into our topics, because I've been... I came out with a new video finally after like a month, and I was getting, I got a comment that made me laugh today. It was all about the economics of going to conventions, how much it actually costs, because I just figured all this up.
We talked about this on a podcast, right? We've been through this, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually broke down the numbers, and since I guess I made I made a couple jokes about how I had to do 4 restorations worth of work to pay for the job to cover it. And people, one guy's like, I thought this was, you guys went to these conferences all because you just loved what you did. And I was like, what the hell? Did you not watch the video? That's the whole point of it. If we just did this because we were about money, we would never go to a convention. It's like, so I was like, this is not, you're not getting it. I know I joked around like saying that my wife would be mad that I only made $100 after that whole job week of, that's like a 3 weeks worth of work, and I profit $100 from it. So anyway,
you could, just because you love doing something, you still have to pay for it. When I go to my weed dealer, I love smoking weed, but I still have to pay him. That's how it works. There's still an expense involved in the thing. Yeah. Sorry, I realize I'm yelling into my mic already.
Yeah, don't yell too much. Unless you're the guy who just hangs out, just like the dude on the couch, where you just hang out all day and try to hang around the guy who's the weed dealer. So you just try to, hey man, you got somebody coming over? Hey man, I'll smoke with you guys.
So speaking of that, one of the reasons I was late is because so I was only late. So I got to stop smoking a bit of weed. So instead, to sort of get the urge out of me, I've got some of those CBD joints. You know, it doesn't get you high, but they say it's got, I don't know. They say it's something in there. It's the similar, but anyway. So I'm standing on my balcony about 3 stores up, smoking this CBD and there's 2 kids walking down the street right across the road, and they're like running their hands along the fence. And then I realize one of them's got like some chalk, and he's running lines along the fence. And then they're throwing the chalk, and he's got another bit out. So, in one hand, they're little punk kids. They're going around graffitiing stuff, but it's chalk and it's brick. So I'm like, let them be punks. These are the crappiest punks I've seen, but it's just chalk.
PG punks.
You see,
they're like Disney-friendly punks.
That's right. And there was some people walking down the street and they're like, oh, we better put it away. I'm like, oh my God. Clearly my neighborhood is too nice if that's what's happening.
So Lewis
around
was
here.
stuck trying to figure out how to smoke the fake weed, I think, right? That's
so
what sounds like happened.
and though I was then like, do I yell at them? Like, oh, but then I've clearly got like a joint in my hand, so I could be like, oh, good way.
And then they're like, hey, what are you doing?
Hey everyone. Okay,
Yeah.
Brian, James, PO17.
Well,
John's here as well. This is very nice.
since we're on this discussion of marijuana, I think let's talk about this for a second, because I also had an encounter this weekend, and it was kind of an embarrassing one. I was sitting down having a serious conversation with my wonderful wife, and she goes, I mean, we're in this conversation about the kids or something. She goes, I know you've been smoking weed. And I was like, I didn't say anything because I was like, yeah. She's like, you've been smoking too much of it. And I was like, I didn't say anything. She's like, I could taste it on you. I could smell it in your hair. You can't brush that out of your hair and wash that off your teeth and brush your teeth and wash it out of your hair. And I was like, oof. And it's because I've been getting like this, like, probably because the stuff that I've had gotten recently was so strong. Like, it's just like when you touch it, you're like, oh my God. Oh, like sticky all over your hands. But that was like, hey, chill out. She's like, I don't care if you smoke. I don't care if you smoke, but
yeah, okay.
But don't.
I want to know the end of the story.
That's it. I was just like, okay. She's like, I don't care if you smoke. She's like, but just don't sneak off. I know you're probably doing it sometimes around the house, when we're just like hanging out with the kids. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I probably do just go over there and just like hit the weed one time or something when I'm out in the garage doing shit. So it's like, yeah, you're right. Okay. She's like, you'll feel better. Trust me. And she's right. I get in a funk because I don't go out of this basement. We laugh about it. Look, I don't even change my outfit anymore. I'm just
hasn't changed in 3 weeks.
Living in this purple outfit, like a big 90s jumpsuit style Grimace from like the McDonald's character.
Grimace.
But
I hear you too, man.
I like, so that, I mean, it's just been kind of a, ever since I moved, there's still been a lot of like stress involved with that, and new stuff comes up, and it's like always wondering if I made the right decision on things on that end. But so you have those thoughts. I can tell you the truth, you do. So, but then
absolutely,
you have these conversations like with your wife, and she's like, and she's right. I would feel better if I wasn't just like, spaced out, like probably on more than I should be. So anyway, welcome to the stream, everybody, where we're talking about.
Hey, Steve, give me my chance to tell my story, motherfucker.
Steve,
Jesus,
Steve, shut up.
This guy. What do you got there? Is that a beer? No, it's water. Okay. Yeah, I'm similar. I'm similar that I've been having a bit too much, and I think the last stream it was too much for me. I will admit. So I'm also trying to hold back with the help of my girlfriend. So I've got two things on that. One was, I still wanted something. So I was having the CBD, but also like whenever I go out to a comedy show, probably 2 or 3 nights a week, always some, one of the guys there's got some. So it's very hard to stay away, but I'm trying to as well. I sort of hit it on the weekend a bit too hard. And then I wake up Monday morning and, feel like, why did I'm a bit spacey and I'm still not feeling great Monday. So, okay, I need to clean up my act, which is all well and good. But in 2 weeks, I booked myself 3 days in Amsterdam. So I got 3 nights in Amsterdam. And you better believe that we're gonna be texting the local delicacy. So not only that, in there's a chain of secondhand video game stores. They're really common in the UK and on Europe called CEX. But CEX, Computer Exchange, it's supposed to be. The Big Red. Anyone in the UK knows what I'm talking about. The Big Red store is a franchise, and there's actually 6 of them in Netherlands, and there's 3 in Amsterdam. I can cycle around to get high, smoke a little joint, cycle around and go to the video game store. And there's another couple sort of on a trains ride. So I'm pretty happy. If I can go somewhere and there's like at least one retro game store, I'm pretty happy just to go look at things. So yes, need to consume less marijuana, but going to Amsterdam on the other hand. So not sure how I'm dealing with such addictions right now. We're getting there.
That's a real test.
You need something sometimes. Hey, Felipe's there. Nice to see you again, mate.
Yeah, it's difficult. You know, here's an interesting conundrum too. Where I live in Virginia, in the United States, it's called the Commonwealth of Virginia, but all it is one of the 50 states. In this state, it is legal to smoke and have like up to an ounce of marijuana per adult. And there's some caveats to that, but there's nowhere to buy it yet. You're not allowed to buy it like anywhere in the state. We've talked about this a little bit, but then they have all these stores that have popped up that sell what you're talking about, CBD and Delta 8 and these other flower-looking marijuana stuff it's just hemp, but it's got the molecule THC pulled out of it. And now our local government is making that stuff illegal. They've legalized real weed, and they say this CBD 8, this other fake weed, is dangerous, and they're making that illegal. And so now all the stores, there's like nothing sold in the stores anymore. Well, it's not been officially passed, but they're trying to, like as we speak in Virginia, get rid of CBD and Delta 8 and all that stuff.
But you can have the regular stuff. You just got to get the real stuff.
Yeah, you just got to get it to yourself somehow or grow it. And I don't grow it though.
There's a lot of work.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I've never tried. I have to ask the farmers out there. So,
dude, how's your mic going? Because have you got a noise gate on your microphone? Because you can hear background interference and then you can't. You know, a noise gate where it silences you and there's no.
There is a noise gate going on because my boiler will randomly cut on, and it's actually on right now. Like,
okay,
that's probably why the noise gate's activated. But yes, there is a noise gate.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to talk for the next, tell a story for the next 2 minutes, I'll be quiet.
All right. Whew. Actually, I realized my pimp jacket's really hot, but I'm kind of sitting here.
Rip it off and show that hot pink MTV shirt anyway. That's better.
Yeah, straight away from H&M. Actually, I think most of my shit comes from H&M. It's very common around here. Do you have H&M in America? You have H&M.
Yeah, I think that's where I have to go to get my son's clothes. Like he's real tall and skinny, like super skinny.
Yeah.
And so he has all these, most, like we've joked about, most people and kids in America are overweight now. So he's not that. So it's really hard for him to find clothes because they're all different. They're all matching the.
Right, so he's got to go. Wait. So what you're telling me is the tall, skinny American kid needs to buy clothes at the European clothes store.
Only
because
place.
American clothes don't fit him. Nice.
I'll be honest, it's in the mall here, which is funny. It's like a dead shopping mall, an old style shopping mall. And that's I don't even waste my time taking him anywhere else. We just go to H&M. I don't even go to another store because nothing fits him. Yeah, it's just this tall European stuff. He gets a lot of these PlayStation shirts and stuff. It's funny.
Yeah, they have why they sell those. Weird. Yeah, they have weird kind of tie-ins. There's you can buy your Nirvana shirt from H&M or your Metallica shirt, and I'm conflicted. I haven't got one, but I got the MTV was okay, I guess. Hot pink. So actually, I'm trying to find one item on me that wasn't already picked out by my girlfriend, and maybe the socks.
Oh goodness! Well,
that's how it is. So we're here on the stream. We've settled in.
We've settled in. Everything's getting comfortable. I think we should defy what that dirty attorney accused us of. That 8-bit Esquire saying we would never talk about the topics we actually picked out.
This guy,
and 90% of the time he's right. And I was like, man, let's actually pick something that's new, that's going on, that's happening. A couple of items, and that's why they're on this thumbnail that you've decided to click on during the middle of the day here.
So we've got this right. So I've just the Jenovi is unearthing. He is investigating. He's digging up all the facts. Look, and I want to say right off the bat, I just watched the video. I'm in the middle trying to learn about what's going on here. Drama's funny to me anyway. That drama's funny for me that people would do it and that people want to report about it, which when I take a step back is the normal way of things. But still, it's not something I can't. The only person that I'm going to make the hit video, you know what I mean? Like the hit piece about is 8-Bit Esquire. I will uncover Roger. I will find the dealings that he's doing, but everyone else, that's fine. They're free for it.
Everyone else, we don't care about. So that's the normal take for us anyway, and I think that's it's fine. We'll stand off and kind of just like poke this. I thought it'd be fun.
First of all, in the chat,
these items for a little bit.
People could ask right in the chat, have you seen the video from Jenovi? Do you have any prior experience with these things? I saw it. I watched it, about 45 minutes of it now. It goes through various things. The early days, something was not very reputable. And then through the middle, it's just like, Pat was a bit not great. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. And then later on, they get into a little bit more of the details. Right. Okay. And then there's this whole tie-in, as Stefan is saying, into Cinemassacre. And that's the angry video games guy.
Yeah.
Everyone had to go. Mike Matei,
well,
dang, he's going
that was the
everybody.
thing. It's like this. So first off, this whole video is kind of a reminder to me of what there's always been this part of YouTube where it's literally other YouTubers making 1 hour documentaries about big YouTubers. Because there was a time where, man, it was just always this kind of stuff on different YouTubers. So it's not like something that's not normally done. But I sat and watched the whole thing yesterday because I knew if I didn't finish it, I would stop and then like forget about it. And he does a good job of laying out things, but at the same time, you kind of get lost. And I was just listening to it, not knowing much on the situation. And I felt like I would get lost on like why I was supposed to be mad at Pat sometimes. Cause it sort of feels like, it's like, oh, this is a video blasted Pat. And then it's like,
I'm the same as well. There's a lot to take
why
in.
am I? And then finally I figured it out by the end. I was like, okay, you know, and I think there's fair criticism there of things that we could get into a little bit more, but from like a albatross view flying over, it is a bit of that obviously dramatic YouTube thing. I thought it was funny that Voltar was in it.
Sure.
And that he came out and made an appearance on there. And then it was definitely, well edited for sure. So it's doing really well, I think, on YouTube for, it's got almost 8,000 views in 20 hours here, it says. So that's pretty good. I see some of the points, and there's some things I think that I'll bring up here. I don't know if there's anything like that you saw first off that you wanted to bring up.
I think the amount, now that I think about it, it's not really surprising, but to have that fact, the amount of money that's on offer, that like in play there with that first cartridge or whatever they were making, the bootleg of the ROM hack or the thing or whatever it was, and then even sales of the book that he's generated 600,000 worth of sales, and we have talked extensively about what income compared to profit means. Actually, just this week, I was having a coffee. I had lunch with a friend of mine who's one of the most prominent movie distributors in Estonia. And I want to say the biggest because it makes him sound big, but it's a small country. There's not much happening here. And, he's telling me stories about how whatever it was, some months or 6 months or more ago, he saw The Whale, with the movie with Brendan Fraser, saw the trailer and said, I'm buying it when nobody wanted to buy it. And he does this sort of stuff. And he was commenting, I was saying as well, that when the Estonian media call me about something that's happening with our comedy shows, I tell them, like, if it's something controversial, I say, sorry, I don't want to talk. And the journalist doesn't know what to do because they're used to everybody wanting to talk to them. So I was saying, like, yeah, these journalists, they write some piece and it's not a hit piece. It's just they want something to talk about. So like, oh, is the comedy guys, is something up? Is there some controversy? Like, nothing's up, but they need some. I respect they need something to write about. And he said, yeah, they've done the same thing to him because they write an article and says, we went through the business register and your company made $8 million last year. And he's like, yeah, I'm a fucking movie distributor. I give all of that money back to whoever made the movie. Do you not understand how the business works? I don't have $8 million in the bank. And it's a similar. So while I want to say like, wow, 600,000 is a lot of money. I just wanted to point out it's a lot of money. That's the terms we're talking about. I don't want to say that's what Pat is sitting around with his pocket thinking, yeah, I'm the boss now. Just more like, oh, that's the region of what this book brought in.
Well, right. So we're getting into a couple things here. First off, I think the first thing that he brought up that Voltaire was segmented on was the cost of producing a cartridge, like a limited cartridge for Cheetah Man 2 or something, and it wound up being kind of a shady deal where the ROM was maybe taken from somebody who was just like a hack there, and then they resold it even though the ROM was available. So there's a lot of story about that. And then there's like a breakdown into the costs. But the hard thing, just to be honest here, okay? The hard thing about watching that, and then, you know, you ask like Voltaire to come on and say, hey, this cost doesn't look right. But that's not really a fair assessment because at the same time, like you have a physical document here from the company that made the cart that says this is how much they paid for it, right? Like $20-something. And if they decided to lie on that document and like say it was $25, then yeah, you're right, they're shady. But they produced a document. And what I'm saying is like just bringing a guy on to say, hey, it's the same amount. You might have done better to bring up a document that said this is how much a cart actually costs than to just say, well, take my word for it.
I mean, you know,
because if you're making an hour-long documentary, it's like, why not just do the little thing? And so there's a lot of things like that, and then like dramatic music play that I feel like it's like that plays on your more emotions. It gets you caught up in a lot of things on YouTube as opposed to.
But would you say that is too much? Because a lot of that, I mean, not talking about the Voltaire thing.
Yes,
we'll get back to that. But let's say music and tone and mood. It's a little bit par for the course. I mean, there's levels of it then. So yes, some amount of it is right, but then it's like how much, you know, if they're overdoing it and there's a picture of a crying child, this is the child that Pat Country took his money away from or something, you know, then. So I would say I don't think the music, tone, feeling, it feels on brand for Jenovi. It doesn't feel like too much. It didn't feel. So what about then?
That's a good point.
I mean, so Voltaire being there, he's coming in, I guess, as expert witness.
Right.
So, and they're saying that because it was, I thought they claimed it would cost $25, but that was also back in 2012. And I think this is the really hard. So Voltaire is an expert witness here, and I believe him. Absolutely. It's not about Voltaire's opinion is wrong. That's not, I think, what you were saying, Steve. That's not what we're going at here. But as a documentary maker, should you rely on one expert witness to back up your claims when, well, I guess you don't, because you don't know, right? You don't know. Company just said, yeah, cost us, you know, and that's, you could, maybe Pat was pulling a scam behind the scenes. Maybe he was in cahoots with you don't know. I'm just making that up out of the blue,
you don't know if
way.
that was happening.
You don't know.
Or you don't know if this company, this guy had a bad deal, and at that time, it might have cost that much to actually get the cart produced. If it might have been, there might have been some fudging. You never know about this stuff.
Incompetence. So what would you put that down to? Incompetence then, or just?
It's either incompetence or you know, intentional. It's so that's the hard thing. You can't really, you know, you're not going to prove that in kind of a business setting unless you have a document trail. But that was just like one small thing. Some of the other things that I did like was it did actually. I mean, I've watched some of Pat's videos, and yeah, I mean, the guy, it's like there are takes that they have that are terrible, and then they come off as such dicks, kind of talking about him. Which anybody's allowed to have an opinion and allowed to think somebody's not cool. I know there's a lot of people who probably are tired of seeing my face too. So there's always that. And hear my voice especially. But so I'll just say that, like, personally, I've never had conversation or interaction with Jenovi, Pat. I have had intercourse Discord.
Really?
I have had intercourse before. Can you believe that?
To immaculately.
I'm not a 40-year-old virgin to believe that. Anyway, so I have talked to one person that was brought up in this video. And I mean, I'm not going to hide it. It's not really anything to hide. It was Mike Matei actually DM'd me. I can't remember. It might have been through Twitter or something, and was just asking CRT questions, you know, just so that was the only interaction I've ever had with anybody. And he was very nice. Never said, you know, anything crazy or anything, of course, because he's just talking to me as like my opinions on things, or asking me about certain CRTs and things like that for a while. That was about a year ago, maybe a little longer. So that's a really only interaction I've ever had with any people.
I didn't actually. I think I skipped the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something. So as I understood, Jenovi found out a bunch of like Mike Matei. There was, I don't know, racist and some other things that are unacceptable. We might say at any time, but definitely by today's standards. And was that the conclusion that he'd done some stuff like 10 years ago and that wasn't good and it was still up and there wasn't? Was that really? I don't know. Was there anything? Maybe someone in the chat can tell. Was he accusing Mike of doing anything recently?
Yeah, people have a problem with that stuff. And like I say, I don't like if somebody puts out a comic book, and in America, that's kind of. I mean, even if it's. I mean, even here, like a good example of something that is universally hated would be like Mein Kampf from Hitler, right? Anything like that, right? So, but it's still like, I don't think that there's, from like a scholarly perspective, I don't want that to just be banned, because then people would forget probably how dastardly of a person this is. And it's like, it kind of connects them to it. So the fact that he makes this comic book, whatever, you know, I don't, like I said, I had interactions with him and he was not, yeah, I wouldn't sit there and be like, oh, well, you're just a dirty racist, right? Based off just that kind of thing, from the perspective of it being like, I mean, I might have certain viewpoints about a person, obviously based on what they've done, but I don't know. I hate to go and just like say blanketly, well, this person associates with Mike Matei, and just because they associate with Mike Matei, they promote racism or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of a reaching thing.
To me, it's a classic straight up cancel culture situation. Or I found these things in someone's past, and now what we do is, I don't know if he was calling for the cancellation, so maybe it's not that, but find something in their past. And I think these issues are still unresolved. And I don't mean to present a perspective either way here to say he should be cancelled or not or whatever. Like, we're still struggling to deal with that because we've been through the worst of the cancellations. You know, when it was like you know what was a couple of years ago and you say the wrong word and you were out. And a few people have been through that, and now we're sort of, I think we're post that a little bit, where we don't want to. We're certainly not endoning any bad things, racism, sexism, all very bad. But it's about how do we deal with someone's past? How do we interpret they've atoned for their past? So apparently a factor was, yeah, he did that. You could have done any crazy shit, but nothing has been said right now, and they're still up. And sure, then you get into, you know, I don't know. It's a hard thing to even like say anything about, because there's so many weird angles that this could be working. It's like, but I think, you know, as people are asking about everyone doing edgy stuff in their youth. Hell yeah. I mean, if there would have been a lot of things that I would have done when I was a teenager, like posted to the internet,
there would be a half a dozen reasons in there of extremely stupid, awful things I did that would be good enough reason to cancel me according to like the cancel culture, right? I mean, anybody who, but how, at the same time, how much does it, like you say, if you really care about it, are you leaving it up because it brings you some other kind of attention still? You know, like, are you still getting attention from it?
Here's another example. It's often brought out with the old cartoons, right? The Looney Tunes cartoons, and they did all sorts of, a Mexican guy is depicted in a racially stereotypical way, or a person from Africa is just, back in the day, the 70s, the 80s,
right?
Depicted in that sort of stereotyped environment. Or I saw something recently, even with they're re-releasing something. It was something about a re-release of Mega Man, and they're leaving in the pictures of the brown skinned guys in the little huts, and because that's the people in Africa are in huts. That's a negative stereotype. And apparently that was in the Mega Man game, and someone wants to comment on this on the stream, and they're leaving it in the game with a warning. And they say, hey, this game reflects the feelings of the time. And also, I know with Looney Tunes cartoons, or I think it's those, they've done that thing as well, where they say, hey, keep in mind when you're watching this is a factor of the times and don't necessarily reflect today. Now, I think in this to complicate this argument, that applies to works that matter creatively and artistically. So yeah, Looney Tunes, I don't want those Looney Tunes cartoons to go away. We should remember what they were, but I would still like to watch them. Mega Man seems to. But, is Mike Matei's cartoons from 15 years ago something of historical significance that we have to view like...
No, I mean, it's not really. It's a personal thing. It's like
you did as a kid, right?
Right. Yeah. And for all we know, it could have been almost like a bad stand-up routine done by a comic. Like you said, what about the guy who came on stage and said all the ridiculous stuff, pissed off the people, yet he from himself was from Ukraine? At the end of the day, you don't want him to, like, if he's a good comic and figures his way out of this and makes good jokes, no one should go back to him and say, you should never be a comic again because you did that one bad night, right? I mean, that's kind of like, maybe that's what...
choosing your audience is important here. So the live show, there's like 10 people, and now many more because I've told the story, but 10 people are there and have watched it, which is why I very much preserve the sanctity of a live comedy show, that I want you to say some stuff, and yeah, the audience will yell at you if it's terrible, but it won't persist.
Right.
It won't persist longer if, you could come back and do something better. Yeah, sorry, I was talking.
No, it's fine. Yeah, so
I'm not even high.
I think we're. I think we're getting through this kind of good. But not to just keep dwelling on it, but a little bit, maybe jumping forward. So we talked a little bit about that cartridge situation. Then you fast forward, and it starts getting into like the book production, and kind of what he's been doing now is the book production, and I think that there was some good points of criticism where he was talking about typos and things, and I don't know. I imagine once you print a book, you can't go and unprint it and be like, oh, I need a different copy made with this typo fix. That's why there's later editions. But I will say that the clip that he cut from their CU podcast that was the most difficult for me to get around is the clip where they were talking about Pat working on the N64 book that he's got coming out now, soon, and how he is using emulators to review these games and write about them, and he admits in the clip how poor the emulation is for the N64, and that some games are basically unrunnable, and that no one really cares because it's just the N64, and brushes it off and makes up excuses. And I feel like isn't. I feel like that's kind of a bad thing to go and base an entire book based off reviewing games on emulation. to me.
So we haven't. Okay, but we don't know this yet, though.
Right.
We just know he's just,
well, he said like that's what I'm saying. He clipped a clip from Pat. So that's what he uses to review some of the games. So maybe. Again, there's part of it taken out of context where it's just a few situations. Like you said, it's all hard to tell when everything's...
be in the pudding when the N64 book comes out, then we'll know, right? And you better imagine there's going to be a lot of focus on that. If you've got shitty reviews and pictures look kind of bad... Because, the stuff where you start to get into, like, does Pat have the correct opinion? That's where it's a little bit like, well... I mean, I don't know. I can't say.
You could shit all over the N64. That's an easy thing to do. And you may not personally like it, but is that the point of the book? Is it like to be kind of like a snarky shit view of it? I don't think so.
Okay, so we're balancing this situation. What about the situation where Pat says that they did a print run of the book, it sold out, a 1 or 2, and then they've tried to establish that at this point in time, Pat knows there's errors. He knows there's errors in the book. However, he needs to print the book right now, the 3rd edition, because he needs to print it right now so it's out in time to take advantage of the NES Mini launch window, and there's going to be a lot of talk about NES and that hype. So that's a tough situation. He knows there's errors, but he says, I'm not going to stop and fix those errors. I'm going to reprint the book because I need to get this out right now. So, I mean, I'm trying to find something. What I'm trying to do is find something concrete in that book section of what Jenovi was talking about. It is not just, this guy sucks. There's something, I guess. And unlike the N64 example, we kind of know because it's already been released. I guess we will find out later how the N64 goes. I don't know. Hard to say. I want to throw it out to you and say, what do you think? Do you know what you would do? But we lack so much context. To say, hey, would we do the same thing? Would I always delay?
Well,
publication?
I was trying to think of it from my own perspective because I've also often thought about I should just every time I go and I work on a monitor, maybe I'll just write a 1-page review on that CRT. Okay, keep it in my own thing. And then maybe one day I would have a book that would be the book of CRT reviews. It would never sell that many, right? So because there's never any kind of like demand on CRT stuff from the marketplace. It's just like I mean, maybe there is a little bit, but I highly doubt it. So there would never be that time frame. I would always make sure that everything was perfectly edited in it, so I wouldn't have any typos. But I was thinking if I made that book, I wouldn't go and write a review on a CRT based on like an article I read or watching a YouTube video on that specific CRT. I would want to go, and if I was writing a review on it, it would be like, Steve worked on this CRT. That's a real expert that giving you a review on a CRT. And
you know what I think you need, Steve? Okay, I'm first of all, everyone in the chat is all like, I would buy that book. Yeah, motherfuckers, because it's 11 a.m. on a Wednesday morning and you're listening to two guys on the Cathode Ray podcast. I imagine you're our audience and we appreciate that very much. Don't get me wrong. You know what you need? Not like the NES book where you just where you just kind of review each model that comes through. You need a beautiful coffee table, big book where you don't review you do like 5 of them, right? And you disassemble and you show beautiful, really nice pictures. It's in like a really big one with really beautiful photos. Take 5 of them, go deep, get like expert photography, beautiful photography designed and laid out really nicely with some thoughts. Because then people could appreciate the CRT beauty. You're trying to bring out the beauty of the insides, the beauty
and
of
if it works, what you're seeing. Yeah, and if it works out,
it might appeal beyond CRT aficionados and our good friends here in the chat because it's this open book. It's beautiful. It looks good. You're presenting something people wouldn't have seen in an interesting way, in an art and like an art house artistic style.
Yeah, and the good thing about that idea is if the first one works, there's so many other CRTs that you could just keep writing additional, couple year having another one come out.
When your friends come over and you look like the weirdo,
we got Castlemania Games in the chat. He can sell it for us.
Castlemania's here, Thor's here. Yeah. Everyone's here. Thank you for everyone for dropping by.
Yeah, I was thinking like that's kind of what I wanted. Would be a book like that, but it's hard to see it from. I don't know. I feel like too when you're taking on like we're talking about. You're probably right. It would be way better to do a book on a few CRTs, because if you commit to doing a like 300 CRTs, similarly to like what Pat would do with an entire game library, then you would get probably burnt out. After you got through 75% of them, you'd be like, why? And it'd be so frustrating.
What's different about, but how much could you say about, or maybe you can, I don't know, but each game is different, but is the 25, 30 significantly different from the next one to be able to.
Oh, look, Ryan's ready. Yeah, we'll do something.
On business.
So up, there we go. See, then there'll be hypocrisy.
Jenovi.
Hypocrisy on Steve.
He's coming for you, man. Coming for Steve. We're gonna highlight the hypocrisy.
Sony would probably sue me or something if I did that. Say, oh man, he doesn't own those pictures. So anyway,
you want to make it. It's not a technical book. My point is, my concept here. This isn't a repair guide.
Right. No, it's a beautiful
like Madonna's sex book, but Steve for CRT.
Right, and it's got to have big, beautiful pictures of a nice like lubed up anode. Get me excited.
Dude, it's gonna come out. You've got the 90s stuff. Remember the Madonna sex book in the 90s and how controversial that was? The Madonna made that book that like showed her nude in different, like very artistic poses, and she released that. Do you remember that? Surely people in the chat remember.
I remember it. I remember I wasn't allowed to look at it.
Yeah, exactly. That was so controversial back in the day.
Here's something. Back in the day, you had to go run out to the woods and follow a stupid little hand-drawn map to where your buddy supposedly had buried a porn, so you could look at a naked chick instead of just like now you just pull it up on your phone. So we would have killed to have a chance. Oh. So
the CRT book.
That's a great idea. Maybe we could segment over out of the Pat thing. We've talked about it for a good little bit, and then that's a good idea because we're talking about possible lawsuits. Kind of drug me to the second topic, but before we get to it, we can take a breather here and see if anybody wants to chat about anything.
I got my cup of tea here. Let me open up. I got the main chat window here. How we got 46 people watching. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. That's like the most I've had out of any stream so far. And I haven't even had to RGB mod anything or tear any CRTs apart today.
I've got some. I got some stuff for show and tell here before we go on to that one. I got some show and tell. First thing for show and tell is I got my Kickstarter backed Amiga mouse. So I guess you never had the Amiga back in the day. I had the original Amiga 500, and this is a replica of the mouse. It's quite iconic look. This was from a Kickstarter campaign, and I want to say a year ago. I don't completely remember, and I know what you get with Kickstarter. It was about $45. I can only imagine I ordered it when I was high. I'm pretty sure I was high one night and thought that this was a good idea. But it finally came, and I would say it's pretty good. It has Bluetooth and its own dongle in there for 2.4G. My only one small complaint is that the dongle rattles around in the bottom there. So I've actually just blue tacked the dongle in there. The battery's at a bit of weight. I like it. I like the tank mouse. I think that it's facing almost an impossible challenge to replicate the original, because the original, first of all, had a cable coming off here, and the original had a big old ball in there. It certainly was not optical back in the day. And I think that if this it does feel light, because it is light, because optical mouses are light these days. There's nothing to them. I was wondering if maybe I should open it up and add some weight to it. But I think, what it needs ultimately is a ball there going around, and then it would have the authentic feel. So I want to give credit to the guys who made this. It's a Kickstarter. I think they're going to sell it later. I think I like it, and I don't want to sound negative. I think they've done the best job they could, given this is an optical mouse and this is not the real thing. It looks great. So I'm happy.
It looks really nice. Actually, the Retro Bro said it looks like a garage door opener, which is pretty accurate.
Actually, good. It's not this computer, so I could do it. Yeah,
you just do that. Yeah, that's funny. Why has anyone made a modern day mouse with the ball in it still? Is there still one? That would be.
Not imagine.
I mean, why not? That would be funny. I mean, it's probably too expensive. It's probably too expensive to make now.
I was going to go to some of the chat here. Super Mega Graphics. Does this Amiga mouse work with the Atari Jaguar? I've heard they were compatible. Sorry, weird question. Not a weird question at all. So this mouse is first and foremost Bluetooth, or you can use the 2.4G dongle. It's got its own dongle inside. So that's a modern thing because it's a modern mouse. It's optical. As I understand, on the Kickstarter, there was a stretch goal where they had some sort of adapter dongle thing that I think went from this to like the old DB15 Amiga style, the same thing that's on a Genesis, that same port. That was what Amigas had, the joysticks had. So, and I'm pretty sure the Atari Jaguar had the same one. So I would go to the Kickstarter page for this. I know they're trying to produce some dongles that would do it, but it's basically a USB to DB15 solution. It's not native or something like that. But the ball, yeah. I mean, it's going to be a lot of engineering. I can imagine this is not easy, but not like not rocket science to put this one together, even though I appreciate the work of the Kickstarter guy. But I'd need a ball. I mean, look, how to say, creating a new ball mouse may be easier than creating a new CRT. So maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure probably is.
Everyone asks, when are you going to make CRTs
Plus
again?
you could ship a ball mouse,
True.
Can't ship a CRT very easy, which, by the way, I posted on Twitter. I went on eBay this last week, and I found somebody listing some 2030s, Sony PVM 2030s. They listed two of them. They're in New York, and they listed them for $350 a piece, but for some reason they sent me a message right away saying they would take 10% off them for me. Because I had bought from them before, and I was thinking, I bought from this person before. So they wanted $80-something to ship. So after tax and after my discount, I bought each of them right away for $413 a piece. And that was with the shipping and the discount and my sales tax. And then I start getting these messages from them. Hey, we want to know if you want to do freight on your shipment. We don't think we could ship them. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember you. I remember buying from you. These are the same people that sold me that Olympus that 2 months ago came and was broken into 100 pieces, I think. And they barely packed it because I asked them, I said, do you know how to pack this properly? Yes. So now they're saying they don't know how to pack it, and then they want me to. They were like, well, you can arrange freight or come pick it up. I said, listen here, you guys already took $165 for shipping. You figure it out. I said, here's how you pack it. You can't see the thing about the 2030, it doesn't have all the knobs and all the breakable pieces, so you can actually pack that one, the 20-inch one, and ship it safe on ground. I said that you could pack it properly. Or you could call U-Ship. And I said, I expect you to ship it to me. If it breaks, I'll file for a return like last time. And if not, I don't know what to tell you. Because I'm like, how many times do you have to have something happen to you when you figure it out? And like change your, because you're like, why did this person, if you don't want to ship it, you shouldn't list it with shipping, really. So they've already taken the money for it. Is there any possibility that you could, I don't know, just look, it's not good, but you got to get yourself out of a sticky situation.
could you call what's that company that we keep talking about that does you find the quotes online to ship it? What's that company you always use? I forget.
Uship, which I offered to them. I said, look, set up on Uship and here's what you do. Go do it. Mm-hmm. And they said, oh, we have a trucking company we work with, but you'll have to pay them. And I was like, oh, no, I won't. I was like, you can. And again, at the end of the day, if they're going to go ahead and like cancel the sale, then they can cancel the sale and just get me out of it and do whatever. But I'm not going to like pay them any extra or anything to they could figure that out. It's up to them now. They either ship it to me through a shipping means. The problem is they want me to go through a freight company that won't even ship, like they won't ship to but like an hour and a half from here. Like they want to ship it to a central place and charge more money. Okay. And that's why I said Uship, but they wouldn't use Uship. I said, well, I'm not interested then.
Well, could you say, I'm trying to play devil's advocate here because I don't know all the details and I know you're in it. Could you arrange the Uship, but you're like, yo, you got to give me that $160 back because you're not shipping it anymore.
Yeah.
So you don't get the shipping fee. You get the $160 back and then use that maybe a little bit more. I don't know.
I would.
Then organize your own Uship.
I would do that, but then I have to trust that this eBay seller will actually like open the door when the Uship driver gets there and actually answer my messages and like do all this stuff because I'm the one organizing it. Whereas if it's them organizing it, the Uship driver goes to them at their scheduled time and then they just come and drop it off at my house. So it doesn't matter whether I'm there, right? If whether I'm there. So that's a good point, but at the same time, then I'm trusting this eBay seller a little bit more than I should, and I'm taking on more risk than I want to.
Sure, you don't seem to want to trust them. Yeah,
I mean, there's no real reason to.
There are a couple of guys in New York. Hey, there's this fucking guy over here. Hey, this guy, he's up in the Tennessee or something. I don't know where he is. Me to ship the fucking CRTs. I don't know what's up. I do a terrible New York accent, by the way. I know. I can't you see I'm walking here? I got nothing. I don't know how New York people talk.
That might be the worst New York accent we've ever had on our show before, by far. So congratulations, Lewis.
Thank you. I'm working on it.
Excellent.
Okay, so if you don't do it, then you just cancel and
money
opportunity
back.
Lost, and
Or here's the other thing, which is the most likely scenario: both the monitors show up broken. Maybe I can make one good one out of the two. Depends how bad they're broken. Both of them show up broken, and I get all the money back and end up with a bunch of stupid parts that are broken. That's probably about 50% chance what happens because I don't think they're going to probably, if they ship it, I figure.
And that's clearly such a dumb outcome. But if it's not shipped to you, they're just going to freight it. Someone else is going to see that 350 deal on eBay.
Yeah.
The next guy coming along is going to think, yep. Oh yeah. They say they're going to ship it. This is great.
Yeah. So that's the thing. If they knew, they don't. This is somebody who sells a lot of stuff. They sell big stuff all the time. They know about shipping. Get people dragging on your. All right. Well, yeah. So the other thing I just wanted to talk about, I thought this was kind of a funny thing. I just saw this in somebody's Twitter feed, and I tracked down all the like link articles, and they all seem to be going back to this for like their reference point. This torrentfreak.com. I've linked this in the description of the video as well as Jenovi's video. So if anybody wants to go check that out, check the description. They're linked in there. And because we're doing this all under fair use, so don't even try to come back and steal our video later on, okay? Lewis, don't worry. I'm only messed up your view. So anyway, I wanted to talk about this because I thought it was funny. I saw Nintendo hacker Gary Bowser, which this always just seem like a fake story to begin with?
Absolutely.
Bowser. He was released from federal prison. So anyway, he was released from federal prison. The guy's in his 50s. He has been ordered to pay. He's gotten out on early release, but he's been ordered to pay like all these millions of dollars to Nintendo, and it's basically impossible. They said he's paying 30% of his income to Nintendo till he pays them back like $14 million.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And he's 53. and they were saying so far he's paid him back $175, which is a third of the money he made working at like the prison laundromat. Yeah. So anyway, he was released. He's out, and if they said that he would have to earn $40 million over his lifetime to pay off this Nintendo debt. But until that's paid off, he basically has to have his wages garnished by Nintendo for 30% every damn payment he receives. Isn't that crazy?
30% tax, and the government's gonna still take their cut off the top. So this guy's, he's an example. So first of all, to kind of go back to the beginning, Gary Bowser is not someone who just distributed some ROMs on Reddit and then got caught, or, hey, I was downloading the Super Mario ROM and my ISP, I didn't use a VPN and my ISP caught me. This is not it. They were creating, as I understand, devices, physical devices to hack switches and then selling them. So
and this is a long time ago too, like 10 years ago now is when they were actually accused of starting this. So that's back when these products were new.
Quite new. Roger's in the chat as well. File bankruptcy, tell Nintendo to go stuff it, live your life. So is that a thing? Is that real?
That's what I was wondering. See, the other thing, the more I read about this, is Bowser was in prison in Washington, or in the United States, and then he actually is from Canada. So is there the same thing in Canada? Are you allowed? I mean, that's what I don't know. Do they have bankruptcy laws like that? I'm sure that's what I said. What's the eventual outcome here? Do you, the guy should file bankruptcy if he can and get rid of that, or some kind of debt. I don't know. Maybe that's part of the judgment against him, is he's not allowed to file bankruptcy. And so it did say in here that Nintendo was wanting to make.
Is that a possibility, Roger, that somewhat like the court could rule that this man is bankruptcy my United States constitutional right that I am allowed to go bankrupt? I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
because you can't go bankrupt over student debt, isn't that it? Like,
in the United States, you can't go bankrupt, or you can go bankrupt from things. There's different levels of bankruptcy, and some stuff you still end up having to pay off a lot of times.
I bet.
So it's a dodgy situation. I felt like if this guy did have to pay, if like there was no way to get out of it, at what point does he like fake his own death and buy a fake passport and like a new identity and go make money as like John Schmidt or something instead of Bowser? Nobody believe it. I mean, Bowser versus Nintendo.
What he needs to do is he needs to hook up with the other famous John who is working in this same area, John McAfee. He needs to pull a fucking John McAfee and head into the jungle and live like James Bond on that beach in Thailand or whatever for a while and go off piste. And then all of a sudden he shows up in the backwaters of Russia, and the next time he's in conflict zone in Africa. He needs to take a few lessons from McAfee. That guy doesn't give he's gone off the deep end.
He's dead anyway now.
Oh yeah, he died. That's right. Well, yeah. This is it. There's a connection here. I'm sure of it.
But he did, man. He ran off the grid. How about when he ran around when like they said COVID was new, and he goes to the airport wearing like a pair of lace thong panties as his mask. Just like, okay, tell me we're talking about people. Tell me you're trying not to get attention, right? Right. Like, you're obviously an attention whore. If you're like really on the run from the government and everybody you say you're on the run from, I'm not going to pop my head up to make 8-hour live streams, with people and then make sure I go to the airport with panties on my face.
The John McAfee one was super interesting because he was, going certifiably crazy, as you've just stated, right? Like going full off-piste, going full nuts. But there's still a product out there called McAfee Antivirus, and that company is owned by Intel, and I was so curious how Intel Corporation was going to deal with one of their IPs is unexcusably tied. You can't tear it away from the man, and you could say like, "Oh, he doesn't own it anymore." His fucking name is still there.
Yeah,
even
but
if not,
Americans are stupid like that. They can't put two and two together, and you don't like. So when you go to the
antivirus, no.
Well, if you go, yeah, I don't know. People will still go and preferably buy that. Like you'll go from an Office Depot or Office Store, XYZ, and I guarantee you can find a copy of McAfee on the shelves to buy, right?
It says something about brand recognition, doesn't it?
It is. Like it's about like Coca-Cola, right? How did Coca-Cola become the biggest soda drink in the world when it was linked obviously to cocaine in its original formula? It's all just it doesn't matter. At some point with brands, they kind of transcend what they started from. Because if you said that word to, I guarantee you 10 Americans on the street, 8 or 9 of them are going to say, "Oh, the antivirus software." They're not even going to bring up the guy who started it.
Maybe as well, of all the sins and crimes that John McAfee has alleged to have committed, it seemed pretty cool. Like he wasn't touching kids or fiddling around with something like that. No, it's not the kiddie fiddler antivirus.
Well,
he was like in the jungle taking on the Russians, running away from this, doing some shit against some small government in Africa. Like, I don't know, kind of badass. But, crazy person, dangerous, not good. But
yeah, I mean,
he's no Doug Bowser. He's no Gary Bowser. Let's put it that way. Right?
Yeah.
He's not a horrible criminal like him.
He wouldn't sit around and pay Nintendo the rest of his life. He said, "I'm not making income anymore. People are just giving me money like I'm their friend." That's what he said. I heard on something. So they're like, how do you make money? And he's like, "Oh, I just leech off all my friends." That's what he said. He's like, "I don't own any property in my name. Nothing's in my name. It can't be." He said, So
he's just
they
like,
basically,
he lives off,
I think they kind of, he was actually canceled by governments, right? It's not like like he was treated with an embargo, kind of like North Korea or something, where it's like, you're not allowed on our currency system, right? He was like kicked off the currency platform and stuff. So it's an interesting.
That's funny. He was embargoed. He was canceled by a government. Yeah, that's called being found guilty of something.
Or they really don't like what you're doing, whatever it is.
That's exactly what Trump is going to walk out of that courthouse and go, "I've been canceled. The government has canceled me. So they found you guilty. It's called government canceling." That's
and it doesn't. Oh my gosh. Wait, Lewis, I don't know what the hell is going to happen in the next election cycle, because I just always sit back and watch the fires burn. Really?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Because it's just become it's literally such a circus. It
seems like a circus from afar.
It literally, that's the best word for all of it, kind of.
I mean, it seems like you guys are just trying to get on with you. And I mean, like you guys, I mean, everybody in America,
most
you're a regular
people.
guy, you got a family, you're getting by. Like, what's it like to see the Republic burning around you?
It's just disappointing, more and weird. It's not anything, So that's why I sit here and we're talking about just the things the government like chooses to crack down on. Like here you have a judge that's like with Nintendo and they're going, "Yeah, we need to send a message to pirates everywhere and people who think piracy is cool." They literally said that in these articles, that the people were the part of the argument to give them the most penalty they could was that they wanted to send a message that piracy had up until this point looked really cool online and had this like, "Oh, that's awesome," sticking it to the big man. And they're like, "So we need to really send a message by throwing away Bowser."
I know when I'm in a bar trying to talk to girls, I'm usually like, "Yo, baby, I got a bunch of Nintendo ROMs at home. I downloaded them without knowing." That's how cool. Yeah, you better take away that cool stigma. Yeah, by sending a dude to jail, you're going to make stuff less cool. Do you know anything about kids, Nintendo? Have you ever dealt with a child before? Is it just me and Meltor sitting in there? Guess what? It looks cool now, right?
wow. So it looks like Bob showed up.
Oh, he's Bob. Yeah, he was out.
He's I want to thank Bob. I put a cameo. Well, I say a cameo of Bob in my last video. You can go check it out if you want to.
I haven't watched your lot. I'm terrible.
It's actually short, so
I was gonna watch your one, and then you're like, you gotta watch Jenovi, and I'm like,
well, yeah, right. That's why I didn't go on my website or my page and go, yeah, watch this video real quick before we go live. When it's like we've been talking for an hour, and that's about the length of that video.
right.
The Cathode Ray podcast, when a communist, Eastern European, and American good old boy come together on behalf of Scanlines.
It's all right. The Cold War's over. We're able to come together.
We should use that as like quotes, famous quotes about the podcast, right? Get it? We'll get all of our friends to have a quote, and that's Bob's going to start.
The worst things possible about us. Exactly the wrong. Say something about us without name them. Oh.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Well, yeah. So Bowser's out. He's going to have to pay Nintendo for the rest of his life if he wants to keep being called Bowser. And
yeah, is that all this is? That's all this is. It's just a copyright name thing. They're pissed off that Bowser did it.
Yeah,
isn't the head of Nintendo? Isn't that Gary? No, he's the other Bowser. Doug Bowser. Wait,
Doug Bowser.
Wait, the bad dude is Doug. Wait,
no.
Which one is which? Sorry, I'm confused. Gary Bowser is the bad Canadian, and Doug Bowser is the good American who runs Nintendo.
Yeah, Gary Bowser, the Canadian. What if, you know what they should do? I don't know why they haven't done this. Why don't they give it, they should give this guy a deal where he has to come out and be like the freaking butt joke of Nintendo the rest of his life, and they'll kick off his debt every time, right? Like he comes over there and dresses up like Bowser and lets somebody come over and whack him in the ass with like a paddle, and he goes, "Ooh!" And it's just like, all right, good job, Bowser. That was a good appearance. We're gonna take shave a little off the top, and then
they're not just once a week. Once a week he's gonna
yeah.
come to Nintendo headquarters, get his paddling from Daddy Bowser, and then he can go on his way.
Yeah, and then at the end of it, you could do like the climax would be here in America. They have this silly show where they take celebrities on and they give them like DNA tests and they find out if they're related. Like, so that's what they do. They give them DNA tests and they find out Gary is related to the CEO of Nintendo.
They're long lost cousins.
Long lost cousins. And then they
cousins.
come together and love each other, except they still aren't forgiven his whole debt. So he's still got to come out there and get paddled once a week.
Paddled every week. Sorry, in the lobby of Nintendo, New York, or wherever they are. Not in Japan. They're not cruel. Like
literally,
that.
what if they said that? Hey, we'll chop $100,000 if every week you come down here and take a paddle. It'd be pretty tempting.
I want the whole. True. I'd want the whole thing. Come on.
That's a $1.2 million payday. The government would probably try to tax that as income.
You've got to. He's never paying that off anyway. It's not like there's 10 million extra on Nintendo's books or something. He's never paying it anyway. So why not do something crazy? The paddling, public ridicule. That's not a thing that we're allowed to do anymore. And then you say, well, Nintendo's going to get a bad reputation. What the fuck do you think they're doing now?
I feel like that would be a righteous form of justice. Let's go back to a paddling public humiliation thing where they do send a message. And I had this discussion. See, I have young kids. They're in schools and they can't do things obviously to them today that they could when I was even in school. And my kids always laugh because my first day of school, I smarted mouth so bad in first grade that they sent me to an office and spanked me, like with a paddle. And
at school
in my first grade. So I always tell my kids that, and they're always like, "Oh, Dad, you were so bad, you got spanked the first day of school at school." But when I was in high school, and this would have been the year 2001. There was a shop class at my high school, and if you got in trouble in the class, the teacher, he was a kind of creepy, like very silent ex-military type, wore glasses, thin, always very attentive, kind of cool, but also kind of like wacky. And
he's seen some shit in Vietnam, right?
And he says, "Now I'm the only teacher that still offers this program in my class where if you get a detention, You can either go to your detention like everybody else, or you could come in and take 3 paddlings from him in the shop. So no shit, there were guys in my class that were smart asses, and they would pick to go get paddled by this guy like after and before class. It's the weirdest shit I'd ever see. Like grow, like, I mean, these were guys, big dudes, like getting paddled by this guy. It's just like, what the fuck is going on?
Okay, first of all, I got questions about the paddling. When you said it was before or after class, was it in front of other students?
No. It was,
setting?
that was the thing. It was like, it's not done in front of anybody. It was like this whole process he was telling us about. It's not done in front of anybody. We'll go back there in the shop, and it'll be before or after class. You take your paddlings, and then you just go on, and there'll be no detention.
So I was like, it's before you just take it.
But the thing is what it was the only shop class left in school that you could get a real credit for. So it was highly desired between the slacking men or boys.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, everybody wanted to be in there, and then all your friends were in there, and you just tried to be such, not like the guy wasn't even like, you had to really push his buttons to get him to give you a detention. And that's the same thing. We're always like, man, you got to actually go get you're actually going to take the paddling. That's what I was like. You're actually one of my buddies. He's like, man, he was a real jackass that day, and just acting like a clown. And he's finally like, you get it, detention. And I was like, he's like, I'm taking the paddling. I was like,
I got a few more paddling questions.
What?
Wait. Okay.
You're going to take the paddling?
Take the paddle. First of all, when they paddled, was it bare butt or over the pants?
See, no, it wasn't bare butt. Okay, no, that would have been way inappropriate. My God, I'm surprised my friend wasn't the most clever and wittiest of us. Because if it would have been me, I would have been like, I'd have come out and go, well, everything was okay until he asked me to pull my pants down and grab my ankles.
And what were they being paddled with?
Oh, it was like, you ever seen the movie Dazed and Confused?
Oh, yeah, but I was in that state.
You're Dazed and Confused. Well, back then, so there's O'Banion. There's all these seniors chasing around like kids who are going to be freshmen in high school with paddles that are like, they say like, whip your ass, and like 50 spankings on it. And they're like these frat boy paddles is what they used to call it. Because
like a ping pong bat?
No, it's this big ass. Look at this collie, man.
What would he do?
Let me show you what he would use. That's what it was. He would literally use. All right, we're just going to do it live here on stream.
Bring it up.
And we're going to see what Google says. I'm not going to, man, my stupid. Let's see.
The YouTube page so I can see.
Let me scroll this down a little bit so I can keep you on the screen. Resize everything.
Oh yeah, we see you there in the corner. Yeah.
Okay.
You can take a bit of me. It's all right. There we go. Yeah. Take a bit of me.
We're
It's all right.
dismissing that, but we're gonna look this up, and I'm just gonna type this for everybody. Man, come on. There we go. Frat. Let's see what frat paddle shows up as images.
Frat paddle.
Just like this, baby. Frat paddles, dude. They look like this. This is what they would look like. It would have like freaking Vietnam veteran like this.
I gotta wait until the delay. I gotta wait to see it on the screen because I don't see your screen. Wait. Oh yeah, like something they would use in a kitchen. That's what it looks like.
Big ass paddle, the big old paddle. Oh God, I don't want to be in your frat boy.
And so he would give you a good old swing.
Yeah,
and
he had one of these hanging on like the wall in the shop. It was just hanging there. It's the strangest class ever. There was one time he would do like his own version of the, like, I don't know what you even call it, the Redneck Olympics, because he had like a pull-up bar back there. So he'd see who could do the most pull-ups, and all this other weird random like short contest things. Nothing really that crazy, but the one thing that I whooped everybody's ass at, I don't know how, there was an anvil pull. Like he freaking set up a like 20-yard anvil pull Do you know what like a blacksmith anvil?
Sure.
He had two gigantic anvils that weighed like 150 pounds each. I don't know, 200 pounds each. And he would tie a rope to your waist, and then there'd be somebody next to you, same setup, and then they'd say, go. And whoever pulled the anvil past the finish line first wins. And I'm surprised I didn't either like shit my pants, because he like...
So you're the king of the so you're like a big ox.
That's what I basically was like it was like the ox competition. We got the ox competition.
Okay, and you're stuck.
And if you're not good, you're gonna get paddled afterwards.
Okay.
Somebody asked if the paddle had engraving. I'm pretty damn sure it said like United States Marine or like Vietnam veteran. It said Semper Fi. I'm sure there. Yeah.
Holy crap! That's like I never got paddled at school. I think I was too late for that. My father would have got paddled at school before that, but I do get, when I was younger, I got some spankings, we would call them, which sounds horrible.
It sounds like something you're gonna go do with like one of your escorts at the Amsterdam or something. Oh, you want a spanking?
Right. Yeah, man. I'm gonna pay Stormy Daniels, and we're gonna be doing stuff like this, right? That's exactly. So, but I got some of that, but never at school. I'd never ever experienced anything. And I think even when sort of the 80s for us in Australia, if the school had done something, that would have been already then in the 80s too much. Like they weren't allowed to touch it at school. You know, give you that what we called it corporal punishment. You know, I don't know if that's a
corporal.
Word that
yeah, capital corporal
punishment.
Yeah,
capital punishment. Yeah.
Well, there's always been a fascination with hazing in America. We've always
love it.
We always love to dress up in dark outfits and dark rooms and paddle each other. Yeah. That's how I made it into the retro Illuminati.
All light covered outfits. I don't know. Whatever fits you guys over there. Hey, white sheets. It's the same thing, right?
Yeah. There you go. Oh,
there
man.
we go. See, that's what I have to do, Steve. Now that I made a KKK reference,
gosh.
in 10 years, I'm gonna have to now in 10 years disown that. We're gonna put a disclaimer in front of this. It's a bad comic that we're gonna, it's gonna tamper. Now, everything I do is going to reflect on you, Steve. How could you do that? How could you know?
How could I support such a man as Zez when I know what he really is all about? Right?
Exactly, with these shitty Ku Klux Klan references. How could we be in support of that?
Yeah, what a wonderful thing. Well, let's there's some fun stuff for everybody. We've kind of gotten through all our topics today, so eat that, Roger. We made it.
Roger. Roger's not listening because he's off making a lot of money. He can't listen to us right now over the sound of the lawyer's check cashing.
I gotta go take this small business to court for not having a big enough sidewalk. And then the old lady slipped on it.
We haven't seen Roger for a while because he's sitting back. He just won that case with Nintendo and he put that Bowser guy away.
Oh, yeah. He made an example.
Like, example of him. Told the judge to say that.
Oh, man. So, like, what... have you got any cool, like, retro projects going on?
What I've been doing, I haven't had many videos recently because, first of all, I've been doing real world things here. But what I've been doing a lot at home is I've been working on my network setup at home. And I've been building out the home server. So I've got the Retro NAS machine. Do you have your Retro NAS machine, Steve? Is that functioning at the current time?
Sorry, I just got a piece of ice in my mouth. So, yeah, it still functions. It's just sitting there. I haven't... My time to play games has not been really... I haven't really had much time to do anything like gaming. So, no, but it's still there.
So I was working on... this is going to sound like old news to a lot of people, but basically I discovered there's this systems admin tool on Linux and other systems called Docker. And Docker lets you install a lot of other stuff on your server really, really easy. It's great. And one of the and I set up a bunch of stuff on my home server. I've now got the Mac Time Machine backups go automatically to my Retro NAS or that machine through a Docker instance. I'm running some tools to help me write and things like that. But one thing, so what I've been coding, it took me a couple of weeks to code, was I have in our business, in the business that I run, we're a booking agency for comedians, and we get inquiries. Someone's got a party, and we've got a salesperson, and so we have a CRM. We use Pipedrive. It's an Estonian company. It's a so-so product, but it's an Estonian product, so we use it. And our salesperson uses the CRM. Someone comes in, they put the deal info in there. Comedians, however, do not want to use a CRM, do not understand a CRM, and it costs a lot to get extra seats. So it's not worth it. Comedians want to just look at a calendar, and they just want to see, like, next week there's a calendar entry and it gives me all the details of the show that I have to go perform at. That's what comedians want to see. So I wrote a tool previously that what it does is it syncs between the CRM and the calendar. So if you make a new deal in the CRM, it'll take that info and stick it in a Google calendar. It looks at the date. So
okay,
salesperson says date, it's meant for May 15, and then it makes an entry. And also if you make an update, it finds the calendar entry and then updates that calendar entry. So it's always in sync. The CRM is always in sync with what the comedians need to see on the calendar. And I used to use a tool called Zapier, which is you can get it, it's a service, and it cost me about 25 to 30 bucks a month. So I was fairly inspired to get rid of this tool.
Yeah.
See you later, Super Mega Graphics. So I found, a tool that could be a replacement. It was called N8N. It's similar functionality, but you can run it on your home server. But I had to basically take a lot of code and port it to this new system. It wasn't a thing, but I had to learn the system. I had to port a bit of JavaScript. But I did in the last few days get it running. So I set up that server on my home instance, and I also had to set up a tunnel into my server. So because the Pipedrive, when it gets an update on an event, when it gets an update about a deal, it sends a hook, sends a what am I saying? It fires off a trigger. Mm-hmm. It fires off. Pipedrive sends out a thing and says, "Hey, do you know there's been an update?" But if it can't get into my network, then it could never get that update. So I even learned how to use Cloudflare tunneling. So now I have a port, an SSL port that comes into my home server, so that Pipedrive can tell my home server there's been an update, and then it goes out and makes the Google Calendar code to do that. Long story, but I've spent a lot of time coding JavaScript and doing this, but I got it going. It works. It's solid. Everything's really nice. And now I save 25 bucks a month by having done that myself. So that means I can go out and spend a few hundred extra on my home server, because I'm like, I saved so much money. Of course I can buy the 8 gigabyte NAS setup now. Yeah, 8 terabyte,
wow.
Sorry.
That's big.
So I've been doing a lot of home coding, home server stuff like that. I finally got that going again. And I'm thinking I've got the next video lined up. I just need to get some stuff, because the next video is going to be why I will never buy a Famicom disk system. And I already have 2 of them, but that's sort of
that's why you're never going to buy them. It's because you have 2 of them.
2 of them. So I'm going to do that one where I talk about the FDS stick. FDS stick is an emulator for the Famicom disk system that plugs into the original Famicom. So yeah, I'm gonna do that. I've got to get my Famicom disk stuff out of storage, but I feel like making a video again. I guess I've been so caught up in life here and trying to do business and hooking up that stuff that you know, sometimes life passes you by, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it's been weeks since I've made a video.
Tell me about it.
I can definitely catch up with you. What about for you? Because at least, I mean, you're working on set, so it's relevant. But how is it for you to?
Yeah,
I've been doing a lot of streams as well. How do you work that in?
I did a lot of streaming last month, and then it would have been literally like 32 days since I actually made a video. So I released the one yesterday, and then it didn't do great. It went like 9 of 10, which I don't really care, but I was still like, whoa, I don't know what's going to happen because I haven't released a video. This has been the longest stretch ever since releasing a real video. And so I'm not really as concerned about that. Thankfully, I mean, the thing I figure is my videos more now are I'm getting to do more about like things that I actually want to do, and it doesn't just have to be one set of things. I feel like, and then even if there's not, I feel like the same people are probably going to watch that normally would watch anything just about. Absolutely. But as far as videos, I did the stream 2 days last week where I RGB modded the CRT on the stream, and I went back and downloaded the shows. And so one show was like 2 hours and 15 minutes of me just building the SCART head, right? And I was like, damn, that's long. So I went in and I was like, I'll make this into a regular video because nobody's going to watch that anymore. That's a live stream. It's off in the ether. So I downloaded it and I cut the 2 hour stream down to like just, I think it was like 6 or 7 vital minutes out of that whole 2 hours. So I had been making a video where I shot some new segments, like a beginning, and then I edited in that section. And then now I've shot a middle and I'm ready to go into the section where it's modding the set. But again, it's the same thing. It's like me watching a playback and like literally cutting out 90% of 2 hours of work, maybe 95, to get down to like a presentable video.
Sounds reasonable. Sounds
right,
like what I would expect.
And then what I'm going to do is it'll have new back. I actually filmed some good stuff, but I'm going to try to edit right where I can put like a composite video image next to the RGB modded image, because I did the same cycle, kind of same recording sequence for each, little clips. So hopefully I can get that edited and add that at the end as like a showcase on it. So yeah, that's what I'm working through. It takes a long time though to burn through those, like cut through and there's nothing in here important to put in the video.
You need a video editor. Pay a video editor to
but then I don't have any money.
Yeah, okay. You haven't made videos, so don't have money.
Right.
Don't have money to pay a video editor. What's your thoughts? How are you feeling so far? You've done this is one sort of stream, and we're getting into this. And that's a different sort of stream where you sit there and work. How has it been for you to have that camera on the whole time where you're doing your work? I haven't watched all of them. I have to admit, I haven't watched the 2 hours. So
no,
are you
long.
talking, given commentary through it? How do you feel about projecting yourself on? Because you're on. When the camera's on, you're on. There's a little bit of like, it's not just sitting at home on your own doing work. When the camera's on, even if you're not saying anything, how do you deal with that for long? How's that been for longer periods of time?
Well, here's the mindset I've worked around with this whole thing. I think of it as a situation where there's generally between 30 to 40 people peak times on the stream, sometimes more than that when I'm doing these. So the way I consider it is it's just like a class, right? Like a high level class you walk into. And so I try to just stay on kind of a mission, but at the same time, if there's a portion, sometimes I just tell people, hey, I'm not able to go through the chat during this period because I'm working on soldering, but back and forth. I find it really has been great for the most part. Besides the camera issues I always have, everything else on the setup's been pretty good.
So you've been enjoying doing that on stream, and it feels like a relief. Like, do you feel like you're sharing it and you're sharing your work a bit, or how does that make you feel?
So the problem is it's like you can't. I know it's not much, but you can't quantify the difference. You're not making nearly as much. Your ad revenue isn't the same on like a regular video. So doing only live streams, there's no, and you got to worry about spammers and things, but doing the live streams is more about just being in the moment and doing whatever you're wanting to do, and not so much thinking about, I could be possibly in front of 1 million eyeballs. That will never happen. Sure. So it's not like there's nothing really to be nervous about. But then I realized too, when I go back and I like edit a video, I chop a lot of stuff out, that.
Right, as you should.
Right. Normal. And I don't know that my pacing, right? You're like thinking about your pacing then in a video as opposed to a live stream. You're not really so concerned about being on a certain pace or things, I think.
Sure. That's what, like you say, like, I know I'm getting annoying with this topic, right? You say you don't have any money for a video edit, but then how long did it take you to edit that video? That's your time.
I know, right? Well,
to go back and do that. That's the cost.
You're right. It's just, and I don't know, maybe the video would do better with an editor as opposed to me doing it.
Or would it be equal, and it just means that you haven't spent that time of your valuable time to edit it down? And maybe a separate, like you said, like it's a bit weird, or maybe a second opinion is good. Maybe having a separate person to do that isn't nice, to say like, nah, Steve, this is the real interesting bit right here.
You're right. And that's a great point. Always having more people look at it. I think that when I get down to it, I'm going to have to do that if I want to edit it, because this is the first one I've done. And if I tried to do the same thing on the other streams that are 3 hours long, I'd drive myself nuts, Because there's probably, oh my goodness, now Roger's back.
Oh, he's back from his lunch.
Mrs. Opportunity, Roger, we needed you, and you went to lunch.
I hope it was worth it. Probably. How many hundreds was the bill for lunch? How many bottles of Dom Perignon? 2-star
Michelin lunch where they served him, a turtle ass on like a perfect Ritz cracker.
Roger's having the Michelin star. Steve has lunch in the garage with the Michelin tires. It's a different sort of Michelin star.
Yeah.
Editing. Yeah, maybe someone can help you. Although I wonder, Steve. Also, one thing that I've been thinking a lot on my mind is this AI stuff, right?
Yeah,
it's really coming to a head right now, and I do wonder if the AI could analyze my text. Like what I was doing was pumping in videos, it would transcribe it and then analyze the text and say, hey, this is an interesting part, this is an interesting part. It's not that far away from being able to then give those time codes automatically to some editing program, which then chops them up, which is halfway there. Imagine that. Imagine if you could just pump in a 2-hour live stream and it gives you
it gives you a good show.
Gives you a good video back or something, right? A rough something back. It doesn't have to be the best edited video. Or it gives you back a Final Cut, or it gives you a Premiere Pro project back that it goes like, here's the best 10 minutes. And you can just edit, move, rearrange, stuff like that. Every time I do something right now, I've got this almost like a worry and a fear that what I could be doing could be done by AI.
Oh, I know what you said. I'm dying from the chat here because Bob and 8-Bit Esquire are going crazy back and forth. Just killing me.
We were talking about paddle and corporal punishment.
Then he said, I didn't know how Steve was Catholic. I'm dying. This is just too much now. Anyway, yeah. So I know what you're saying. I think that somebody that's already edited video would be on top of that, right?
Yeah, they might be. If editors are out there. I think everyone's now, like, so many AI stuff is popping up so quickly. I've got this one tool that I've been using. I even paid the guy a little money because I like it so much. You just speak into the web page and it records you, transcribes you, and gives you back a summary of what you just said. And you can make it like as long as what you said or short. You can change the style, and it gives you that executive summary. Very good if, for example, you've spoken a bunch of weed and you got a really good idea, and the wife / girlfriend / person who's in the house doesn't want to listen to your high friggin' ramblings. Nobody wants to hear that shit. So talk it into the AI, and then in the morning you've got this setup of like nicely arranged summaries of your thoughts last night. Genius.
How long till you like look at the I would feel like I'd look at the playback and be like, oh shit, I've got to burn this, because if anybody else reads this, they're gonna throw me in the mental asylum.
That's why the summary. That's why it's beautiful. The AI.
This person is a lunatic. When does AI like send the squad out for you? Hey, this person might be a little loony. You better be careful. There was a goofy ass segment on like 60 Minutes about Google's AI, and it was just so cheesy the way that like the big name reporters did it. And then they're like, I I don't usually pick on people for their age, but this guy, you know, Scott, whatever his name is, it's just, it feels like such a boomer segment. Like, because that's the only people watching it, I think, is like the people that are like
60 minutes.
Yeah, 60 minutes. Yeah. So it's like, I'm like, God, this is just so segmented towards them. And it's like such a, oh my gosh, like this AI from Google turned these 5 random words I said into this Walt Whitman level poem and the fucking dude is sitting there with tears like in his eye. Like, how could this be possible? It's like, what? Are you silly?
There's so much stuff we got to work out. Like, what happens if you train the AI on the? Did we talk about this? God, I can't remember. If you train the AI on a Drake song, and then the AI writes a Drake song. Well, then who wrote it? Is it Drake's intellectual property? Is that what happens if you listen to a lot of Drake because you're Steve and you love that shit, and then you write a Drake song? That's okay, but if the AI does it, that's not okay. I don't know. We're still learning. We've got a lot of social contracts that are about to be torn up about how we do stuff, and I love it. I love a bit of anarchy. So I'm really excited. I think that's why I feel happier in the last few weeks. I've started to sink in how much AI is going to fuck with our society, and I like it. It's exciting.
This is like
I like the idea that it's going to fuck up and change society, because we need, like, it's no fun. We just go through life and everything's the same and boring. Am I one of those guys that looks at The Walking Dead and thinks, oh, that looks like an interesting life, way more interesting than my life. I wish the zombies would come. Maybe it's a little bit of that.
That would be terrible, though. You couldn't, like, I mean, at the end of the day, you couldn't, like, just go relax, and you could never, like, relax. Could you imagine being in The Walking Dead and trying to smoke, like, a weed, like a joint? Holy shit. You'd be so paranoid. Like, because you wouldn't have smoked for God knows how long, and then you're like, damn, I don't know, man. Maybe I should do it.
The guy comes along. Just give you want some too? You have it.
There was some movie I watched that was similar to that with like Viggo Mortensen, where he did that. He like stumbled across. It was some post-apocalyptic movie, kind of like that, where it was like months after some kind of virus killed a bunch of people. But it was more or less, I think, the people that were left were just downright dirty. Right, because they would just like cannibalize everybody who's left, half of them.
It's always going to be the dirty ones that are left.
But I can't remember the name of the movie. But that's what he did. Like he finds this shelter that somebody had left, and there's like weed in it. And he smokes a doobie, and then like some crazy shit goes down. Of course, right when he smokes, it's like yeah, paranoid 20,000.
Is it The Road? I was thinking The Road, but I was going to say it's like I've read like 3 zombie books, and I didn't want to say like
I've been. Is that it? The Road? Okay, I don't know.
Is it Cormac McCarthy? That's The Road, right? That's a classic.
Oh, that's interesting. You were talking about Colin McCarthy, because I have been sitting around listening to an audiobook of Colin McCarthy all freaking week. You want to guess what it is? It's Blood Meridian. Have you ever heard of it?
I've heard of it, but I don't know it. Okay.
It's like the video. It's like the movie no one can make, because it is so freaking everything. You talk about like this book's full of it all, because it's set in the cowboy days, 1840s.
Okay.
And it is written. The way it is written is like similar to God. It's like beautiful, like Paradise Lost shit. It's like way over your head. Like Milton, this is like high level almost. You got to really like the way it's written really paints a good picture. See, when I was growing up, I used to love, my grandmother would read me cheesy Westerns, like books. Okay. And I'd just sit there and listen to her. So I was listening to this and I was like, damn, this is like that, only like with crazy stuff happening, like super descriptive, every kind of nasty thing and death and shit you could imagine going on in this book.
Do you, when they speak, when the author writes, or you hear the audiobook, very eloquent, like poetic, what you're saying, like this real rich language, do you understand it all? Because I remember, I was 17. This was probably genuinely the first reasonable girl that I'd ever been on a date with, right? So I grew up in a small town. I'm going somewhere with this, Brimmy. I'm bringing it back. Don't worry. I grew up in a small town. I go to a study camp in the big city. Me and my friend, we decide to con our parents, and we're like, yeah, we need to go study physics. Yeah, there's a summer camp in the big, in Sydney, in the city. We need to go. Can you pay? And we go to the camp. We barely attend lectures. We just want to hang out and have fun. And I meet this girl, and she's nice. She's from the city. We go, and like she's same year, like final year of high school as well. But she comes from like the nice suburb. I come from the countryside. I'm a bit rough in case you can't tell. And she says, hey, like, I don't know, I'm 17. We don't know what to do. So we'll like, go to the movies. Okay. And at a really like art house cinema near her, they were playing that 3-hour long, is it Hamlet, the Shakespeare one, the Kenneth Branagh version? That's like 3 hours of Hamlet Shakespeare. And of course, there's a hot girl who wants to go be in my presence in any manner whatsoever. So I'm like, yeah, let's go. Yeah, of course I'm fucking cultural. I know things. Yeah, let's great. And I sat through 3 hours of Kenneth Branagh Hamlet, and I did not understand one sentence. I have no idea what's happening, which in fairness gives me much more chance. I'm doing these ones. Oh, because I'm 17. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm like,
you don't care either. You're like, I don't want to know.
I don't give a shit what they're saying. As long as she is sitting there next to me in this movie theater, I am over the world that I'm just in this place. I don't care that I'm not understanding the movie. So I still don't, because I went to a very, very public school, no private school, nothing like that. When I went to high school, we did not study Shakespeare. Never, ever. I don't know how to read a Shakespeare. Did you at least study a Shakespeare in high school, Steve?
Not much. The only thing, the thing I remember was we had a crusty old English teacher that went on and on and on about Julius Caesar, right? That whole frickin' play, which... Okay. But I don't remember ever going, like, the Shakespeare stuff was it's like, oh, that's reserved for the honors classes.
For the intelligent kids.
Yeah, you peons down here in the low end of the gene pool, you just get like, you know what, we'll give you Homer, the Odyssey. And we're like, Homer Simpson? Hell yeah, we get to learn about the Simpsons. So there was never, I'll be honest with you, when I was in, I'll never forget moving from Virginia to Tennessee in this middle school age in America. I was going into the 7th grade, and I was going from a private school in Virginia to a public school in Tennessee.
Ooh, fucking private school boy. Ooh,
yeah, and I'll tell you the damn truth is I didn't learn a single new thing till I got to 9th grade. They spent 2 years. When I got there, I was in grade, and I was like, this is shit I talked about in 5th grade. And it was like, that was what they were, I was like, I remember talking about this when we started in 5th grade. So there was 2 years where I didn't have to learn anything new. It wasn't a good thing.
Yeah. Do you think that stunted you for 2 years?
Oh, I'm sure. Coasted. Right. They just coached you through. And then, so it's not, I think now I have to intentionally want to do this. And like I say, I can't put that thing on and just do almost anything. You almost have to sit there and just daydream and listen to it, because you can't, if you like try to do other things while it's on, you're going to lose it. You're going to lose. Right.
You've got to focus on it.
You literally do. You have to focus on it.
If you do give it that attention, you're saying it's worthwhile.
If you like that kind of thing.
If you're in, of course. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but, yeah.
I don't know that. I think it seems like at today's day and age, I may be able to read the book. I just don't know. It's been so long since I've picked up a real book. I feel like I've read it almost.
Do you feel like you'd be able to read the book? I mean, obviously you could. You are literate, aren't you?
Like, I think so.
Yeah, I think so. But do you mean your attention span? Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've tried it before, and I don't ever actually like make it through the book, or I just stop. Something happens, and I'm like, oh shit, I forgot I was reading a book. So I don't know. You get so used to kind of modern technology now. It's not the same.
We've lost our attention spans.
Right. That's why I thought maybe listen to it, but still, like, listen to an audiobook is like 20 hours on this one or something.
You got to listen to a less intense book then, maybe.
Yeah. But this was like, oh, you got to check this out. This is like the most intense book. And I'm always like the kind that I don't really want to work myself up to this. I'm going to like jump all the way in. So like you would say with Hamlet, back then I would have been like you said, I wouldn't have given two shits about it. I would have been trying to, do whatever with the girls. Like I can remember, do you remember that Shakespeare in Love or whatever the hell that DiCaprio movie was? Mm-hmm. So I remember that movie was rated PG-13, and that was like peak when every kid in the freaking world would go to the movie theater on the weekend, a night.
Oh, you're not talking about Shakespeare in Love. I think you're talking about Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, Romeo and Juliet, not Shakespeare.
Yeah. Shakespeare in Love was a different movie. Yeah,
that's actually a completely different movie. Yeah, sorry.
Yes. Yeah, that had that. So and a soundtrack. That was where it was.
But it was it was in that freaking stupid version of the original script. And it was such a pain in the ass to follow. And not to mention, I remember being in a theater filled with dumbass American kids that are just screaming, hollering. And I was just so pissed off because I was like, I can't believe I watched this fucking movie. It's full of idiots. I can't even hear what these morons on the screen are saying. It's like a Jerry Bruckheimer film, like where I'm watching Transformers flash back and forth across the screen fighting. And they're saying God only knows what, murmuring in their language. So that stood out to me as something where I was like, I hate that, and I never wanted to go back and watch that movie again.
That was a similar era. I think that came out around like within the same year span or something. So we had these two major Shakespeare-y movies. The Romeo and Juliet, I could understand a little better. Did I get the second base? Not that night. I wish, because then Dad came to pick her up. So I didn't know what to do. So I just I don't know. After the movies, you're like,
did you make 17. Out? Did you? What was what's a memorable movie that you went like with a girl to and made out with? Is there anything? You have any stories?
I got a little one here. So even before, I'm trying to think. Was it before I met that girl? Yes, before I met that girl, I had met this other girl, also in the city, and. So she lived like 3 hours away. So it was a long way to travel if you live 3 hours away. This is even before email. We got to make phone calls to one another. I believe I even sent a letter, like not like a love letter, just like a letter, because that was the only way you could communicate. And so I'd lived 3 hours north. She lived in the big city, but there was like a movie complex, like a town with a movie complex halfway in between both of them. And this worked to the advantage because Passion of the Christ. This worked to our advantage because we were both like anonymous people. You know, if you go to the local movie cinema and your friends and they're like, or whatever, you don't want to be seen, right?
Yeah.
And of course, no girl wants to be seen with me. So this is perfect for me. And I definitely got taken advantage. We went into that cinema and that girl knew what she was doing, and I got taken advantage of. Definitely. Look, she unbuttoned her own. She had a button up. So she's already come prepared. She unbuttoned her own because there was no way. I don't know. I'm happy if I've done this. This is like Lewis has won as a 17-year-old if that happens. So, and she unbuttons the shirt and then it might have been A Fish Called Wanda. I think that was around the rain time. Was it that movie? It was the first time I ever went to a movie and I never watched it. And I don't want to sound like, I'm the Lord. It was more just like dumb lightning struck an idiot and I just happened to get that in one go. This girl was like, look, this is how it rolls. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, feeling boob in the theater when I was 17, and the people turned around and looked at us, and I was just like, I don't know.
Really?
It is. Well, I'm not gonna cause a scene because I don't want this to stop. I just be like,
So you'd be like, hey, you better stop watching. This girl's not 18. Turn around. Creep.
Well, no, there was I'm
not talking about you. I'm talking about the person, the voyeur.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Fish Called Wanda.
The first time that I ever got any action. So that was the first base, I guess you might say.
Wow.
To answer Roger's question, the first time I'd ever touched a boobie, and I was happy about it. There was bra in the way, but it didn't matter. I was over the world. I left that theater. We had a little food. I got my train back home, and I was sky high. This was great times.
Yeah. Well, that's an awkward age. So sometimes it turns out to be like something like a good experience. I had I would call it an experience. I wouldn't call it necessarily good experience or anything. So, but I would have been about the same age, 16, I think 17, because I did have a car. Oh. And this girl, she was like the grade under me, and I didn't really know her. She had been partying with some friends, and I saw her at like a house party, and I was like, yo, that girl's cute. And I think we like made out at the party or something. But this girl was a real like flipper. Like she would be into a guy for like 3 weeks, and then like after that, a new guy. And so she would always be like, so you had to like jump. I figured you had to jump. You have to jump on this girl when the iron's hot. Because if you were hot to her, that's what I figured out. If you were hot to her, then you went past that where you missed the opportunity. There was like no chance to go back and try to get anything. Because I was like, well, now I'm horny and I kind of want something. You want to? No, I like this guy now. So, but anyway, this girl and one of her friends, and then me and a friend of mine, and then like 10 other friends that weren't dating, like just guy friends. Yeah, okay. And then these 2 girls, and then me, and the guy was going with his girlfriend. They've been going together for a long time, and then me and this other girl were sitting together. And the movie was Gone in 60 Seconds. Gone in 60 Seconds with Nicky Cage. And so we get there, and we're watching like 20 minutes of this movie, and I'm not really like you. I'm not thinking much about I'm watching the movie. I'm hanging out with all my friends too, and I'm like, where's this gonna go? And well, all of a sudden, I look over, and the girl and the guy who like are with us that are together, she's like you said, she's like super aggressive, got her tongue down his throat, and then you see her hand down his pants, just going, and like, what the fuck is going on? And then it starts getting awkward because you're here with the other girl, like sitting next to that, and then it's like, oh, so do you want me to do that too? And then I was like, and your buddies are down there, and they're like, yeah, dude, tell her yes, yeah, look, Nutter's finally getting some. Yeah. And you're like, I think so. I think I'd like that. Oh, okay. Let me hang on a second. And I remember she didn't even like, she said, oh, I know how to take care of this. And she literally opens her drink and grabbed a handful of fucking ice cubes, and immediately shoved it in my crotch pits. And I was like, whoa! I was like, what the hell did you just do? And then she like tried to play it off like, oh yeah, you like that? And I was like, what the fuck? And it was the most awkward thing. And finally I was like, enough. Stop. And of course, and then like after that, there was no recovery. Like, it was like, hey, so you want to go maybe have like a milkshake after this? She was so embarrassed that like that was the last time we really talked or anything. And then I just saw her like again, like every 3 weeks hanging on to some other dude. Okay. And I was just telling my friends, I was like, hey, she's on you. Like one guy, I was like, hey dude, she's on you this week. If you want some ass, you better get it. And he no shit came to me the next week. He's like, damn man, thanks dude. Oh yeah, it was great. And then I was laughing because this guy and this girl were in a class with me, like the same class in high school. And all of a sudden it's like 3 weeks and his time is up. And so then he's like all mopey and heartbroken because she's moved on to the next dude. And he's been left behind. And I'm like, dude, I told you what this was. It's like, did you think you were going to catch this girl and make her fall in love? Who cares? She's a freaking 17-year-old hoe. It's not.
You could be walking around just with an empty drink, just with ice left in there. When you see them just like.
Yeah, and that was the worst. So that was the worst part. Okay, I forgot about this. The reason it was so awkward and embarrassing on the way home was, we got back. We drove together. I drove her and then the couple. So they get back in the car, and they're like, "Oh yeah, so how was it? Was that good for you guys?" And I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, no. What the hell is up with you guys thinking about the ice?" And then they were like, "Oh, ice is good," because I think she did it like to him after, but she'd been like throbbing him for like 20 minutes prior, and then put ice on him.
Maybe he likes the ice.
Yeah, I was like, maybe that's what we said. Maybe you like the ice. I don't, and it was just that was it. So it's probably a good thing. All I got was a handful of ice thrown on my genitals by a
just
Sally Q. Her name's not really that, so I never knew any Sallys.
That's all right.
I don't even. Oh yeah, I do remember her name, but I'm not saying it. I finally remembered it. That's hilarious. Well,
It's okay.
What a Cathode Ray podcast! You thought that the most dramatic thing you were going to hear about was the NES Punk crap.
The best bits are always at the end. Just like
the best bits are always at the end, especially that when that's why you got to give it an ice cap, right? Like. I don't even know if anybody's still here listening to us besides
there's a few people. Thank you very much.
I mean, we've gone so off task. I hope people are enjoying it.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys, for enjoying hanging out with us today. I don't know. We've been on here for a while. What else?
2 hours. Yeah. I mean, the last thing, like I said, Iceman.
ice,
so
baby.
The last thing is, yes, look for that. Look for those projects from Lewis and myself. I don't know what else we're going to be. We'll try to get.
So it's.
Go ahead.
Guests, bro. We got to get better at this.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this offline, but I guess to start name dropping the people that we're trying to corral into this. But we'll talk offline. I get those names and I can keep talking with them, trying to set up that time. But that, I know we want, it's not really a secret. We could say, I know we want to talk to Scarlet Sprites, to Joe, but it's that time thing, right? Because he can only do the evening.
Yeah.
So it's either weekend or 4 a.m. And the weekend's tough. You got kids. Everyone's doing something on the weekend. It's a tough one to carve out an hour and a half on against Pat or Mike Mathey here.
Maybe they'll want to come on and talk, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
What would they have to gain? That would be just like
drama.
helping us. I know.
Yeah, we're not drama anyway.
That's a funny thing. If we got all these drama people here, they would just leave because they would get bored.
Yeah.
Or unless they really liked us. So it's not. Yeah. Sure. I just wanted to bring it up because it was such a long.
Well, if they hang around long enough, they'll hear the Iceman story. So maybe that'll get the drama people back in again.
Iceman.
But maybe we've got to just do fuck it. 4 a.m. We're gonna do it. If we find a day where I don't have 4 to do much.
Your 4 a.m. because that's like
my 4. No, my 4 a.m. No, my 4. I'm on volunteer.
That sucks for you
or whatever. Like you do it at your time, and then I'll come along and join.
That's our evening time.
Yeah, exactly. But I appreciate that some people, including Joe, can't make it in the middle of the day. So if we're ever gonna do it, I understand we can't have the weekend. Maybe we just gotta do it. And I'll wake up, do my best to be part of it, because otherwise we just won't, it's that or not have a cool dude on the podcast. So
yeah, and I mean, I could always invite him on to a show, but then he wouldn't be on an actual episode of the podcast, which would be better.
Right, it would be just do that.
He can come on live too, but it would be good to have him on an actual. Like I said, anytime it seems to me for sure with YouTube that anytime you go and you actually make a video, it's going to sit there and be easy. People will go and find it later on when they look up somebody, as opposed to a live show. And a lot of people don't want to watch live playback. So, understandably, that would be better and it'd be better for the guest and everybody too.
Yeah, we'll make a proper episode. We'll do some proper episodes. So I'll commit to at least. I'll put to one guest. I'll try at 4 a.m. for one guest, just because I'm down for the cause, and because I appreciate it. For me, it's like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. is perfect time. I get off real easy on this. So maybe it's time for me to do some hard yards, get up early, do a podcast. So we'll work on that. Maybe next week. Let's see.
We'll
see. The week after is Amsterdam, and we know we're not going to get
that's not the thing. Let's we'll try to do we'll try to get in touch with Ryan too from Castlemania, and
yes,
he should be able to get on during the day. Since he's got, he's a business owner and should be able to work.
He's not doing nothing, just running Castlemania games.
Sometimes, he used to call me and just have 2-hour conversations about CRTs. Cool. But yeah. All right, everybody. Let's we're going to jump. Yeah, we're going to jump off here. I really appreciate everybody showing up. Thank you as always for your time, Lewis. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and good fun. Thanks.
yeah, go make sure you're subscribed to Zez Retro, of course.
Please go over to Zez Retro as well.
Go.
Subscribe to my channel. We got the episodes, but if you're this far deep, you probably already know about what's happening. So, thanks, guys. Thank you very much. We'll get the book. The book is coming one day.
One day the book will happen.
1 million Kickstarter. I promise you now. 1 million in Kickstarter. All right, everyone.
All right, guys. Take care.